Hey, what's going on, everybody out there that's listening? I hope y'all are ready. This is going to be a very interesting hangout, and it's very interesting that I have a hangout this early and on this day because usually I wouldn't even be here on a Monday this early, but I had today off, and this was perfect timing for myself and the guests that I have on to discuss this particular topic. So y'all are going to be in for one hell of a, I would say, discussion. And this is actually the second collab that I have done, I think, on this particular channel, probably since I got this channel, and this is probably the second collab that I've done with somebody that I've never did one with before. So I hope y'all are definitely ready because we we about to cut loose on this topic. And I'm glad that we were able to come together and talk about this because it's something we've been wanting to talk about for quite some time.
Yes, how's everyone doing, folks? This is Chris Miller, aka BlakUp InYah.
You have almost about as many names as I do.
Yeah, I was originally just Chris Crazy House, and that's just based on my actual website, chriscrazyhouse.com. But my real name is Chris Miller, and I just decided to create a new YouTube channel since my last one got suspended. It's back up now, but I haven't done much with it. So
Yeah, been there, done that a few times.
yeah, I was like we were just talking about before. I say it's a rite of passage for Black YouTubers to get banned or have their channel suspended or just taken down completely. You know,
Exactly.
you're not doing it right if you haven't had your channel taken down at least once.
And when y'all come into the chat, make sure y'all hit the like button.
Let's see if I can see the chat here myself. There we go. I'm gonna actually log on here. Okay.
Yeah, someone in the chat who asked where can they find you.
Yeah, I'll post a link to my YouTube channel. Turn this down so I'm not hearing myself. I'll send you the link to my YouTube channel. I'll post it in the chat, so no worries. But thank you to all the people who have subbed to my channel. The subs have gone up tremendously in the last 2 or 3 days since I did that last video talking about the election.
Oh yeah, when I had saw the video and I said how powerful it was, I shared it on my community page, and I said I need y'all to do two things. One, I need y'all to watch the entire video, and two, afterwards, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe.
Yes, like I wasn't expecting to get that much attention from it, but I'm glad it did because like I said, it was, believe it or not, it was spur of the moment. I just came from outside. That's why I had the hoodie on because it was kind of raining and cold outside here. And I just, I was just thinking about what everyone was saying about Black people who didn't vote, and it just made me angry enough to speak out about it and give my rebuttal to those people.
Right. Like the last few days with this whole voting thing, the thing is, if I was to do my live stream yesterday, which I didn't do, and this is kind of like a replacement for it, this was actually going to be one of the topics I was going to talk about. But like I did with my other live stream when I did a collab with Cerulean Gray on talking about the budget plan, I'm glad that I waited to discuss it with somebody who had more insight with the topic instead of me doing it by myself, and I could have like not mentioned every single thing. And I'm pretty much doing the same thing with you because you really went in on this topic. Like you went, and the fact that you said it came off the top of your head made it even more better.
Right. And well, for me, it was like I said, there's been a lot of frustration with me as far as dealing with the electoral process because a lot of people think that just because you don't want to participate in every election nowadays that you're just ignorant to how the system works. But I've worked, not necessarily worked in politics, but I've volunteered my time and my services trying to help out, especially during the Bush years when Bush Jr. was the president, trying to get him out of office and trying to get the Democrats to have more seats and more power to help get him out of office. And what we were working for was really to get George W. Bush Jr. impeached But of course, once we got the Democrats in there, they said, "Oh, that's off the table. We're not going to try to impeach him. We're not going to try to stop the actual war, an illegal war that we all felt at the time." But then that's just been my frustration with the Democratic Party, is that they always want your vote, but they want to do what they want to do, and they play with the status quo. They stay with the status quo pretty much. They don't really help out as far as like working with the actual people.
Exactly. And that's why I want, like, I listen, on the day after the election, I think it was the day after the election, I put up a status and people just flooded it and went in, and it was like a civil war on that one post, like constantly all day, like not all day, but like a good chunk of the day. And
Right.
then I had made a post. I think I forget what it was about. Then I had somebody who I went to high school with had left a comment. There was a pretty lengthy comment. In so many words, they were saying, well, if I didn't vote or anything like that, then I shouldn't have any kind of say so on anything political and things of that matter. I said, if y'all think this midterm election is something I shouldn't speak on, then y'all should really be scared about what I have to say about that 2019 budget plan, which I'm almost certain 99.9% of you don't know about, and that's public knowledge, and that went out before the election even happened.
Right. Well, the late great George Carlin had a joke about that, saying that the people always told him too, like, you can't say anything about the election if you didn't vote. He's like, well, he's like, you're the one that should be upset. You voted and they didn't do anything that you wanted them to do. He's like, you're the idiot.
Exactly. That's exactly what I be saying. I'm like, okay, so what do you say if you voted in a person that was a fraud?
Right.
Like, as a matter of fact, Professor Black Truth did a very, very excellent address about this. I think it was last night, but I had a chance to listen to it this morning. And he was saying how a lot of Black people in particular like to vote for people who are Black. I posted up a Twitter post about that. I said the days of that happening are long gone, or they should be. And
Right.
he mentioned Wilson Good. And he was the mayor of Philadelphia, and he was the one that orchestrated them to drop the duffel bag of C4 on Move back in 1985, and that was a Black mayor that did that, and people, I'm sure, who were Black voted him in. So what do you say about that? That means you are partially responsible for either getting him into office or re-electing him, and thus putting him in a position to do what he did.
Right. Well, I mean,
and
like,
he killed your own people.
Right. And the most modern example of that is Ken Thompson. May he rest in hell for what he did.
Oh, yeah.
He was supposed to be the prosecutor in New York, but when Peter Liang murdered Akai Gurley, he didn't want to prosecute this guy, and he was taking donations from the Asian community to keep that Asian cop out of jail. But as Black people that were the original people that put him in there in the first place.
Exactly. Like, they literally had Peter Liang in, like, practically ready to go to jail.
Right.
He'd probably be in jail right now. But
right.
The Asian community, and I never seen that many Asians before in my life, but
they joined together. They didn't care if you were Chinese, Japanese, Korean, whatever. They worked together to keep that Asian cop out of prison.
The whole Asian American establishment came out, and I was like, where did all these Asians come from? And it wasn't just like they were in New York. They were all over for this one man that killed that Black man. I said, if that did not let y'all know how Asians feel about Black people, that they should have cemented it for you.
Right. And that case, that really got to me, just because Peter Liang killed Akai Gurley for no reason whatsoever, folks. So don't think that there was any reason. He was literally just walking down the stairs, and Peter Liang just opened fire because the stairs were dark. He saw someone coming and killed this Black man, and then tried to cover it up. Like right as it happened, he wanted to call his union rep first. He didn't want to call the ambulance to see if they could save this man's life. And he left a young daughter behind. Like I think my daughter was like 1 year old when that happened. So that really hit home with me. It's like, you can just be murdered for no reason and be taken away from your child, and then nothing be done about it.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's a lot of crooked people. There's only one Black politician that I think Black people really care for, and he actually gave a damn about Black people, and that was the former mayor of DC, Marion Barry.
I was going to say, yeah, Marion Barry is probably the only one.
I think he's the only one that people across the board gave a damn about, because he actually did a lot. I remember my dad was telling me how his first job that he got was from the program that he put in place for minors to get jobs. Like
right. Well, that's what I mean.
I think like 15 to 16 at the time.
He specifically worked for black guys to get those jobs and black contractors to get those jobs. So that was one of those. He was actually in a very revolutionary as far as like being a black political figure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he did what other races usually do when they get into politics, is actually help their people. But it almost seems weird when a black person does it. Usually a black person is working for the establishment and not actually working to help his actual people. So
exactly,
that's a sad thing.
And that would explain why he caught so much flack. And like I was like, why do they keep bringing up his drug issues or the women he slept with and stuff like that? I said something else is going on, and it turns out it's because he was doing all this stuff for black people. You know, they gotta dirty up your image,
right?
Doing something for your own, and it's genuine. Like he built this set of apartments in Southeast DC called Berry Farms. Like they literally were named after him. Now it's going through gentrification because now they're tearing them down and they're starting to build whatever there, because gentrification. So white people want to move back into the city. He even helped contribute by building what used to be called the MCI Center down in DC, where the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals play at.
Right.
He did that. Like he put that in he had a lot of stock in the city of DC. That's why he kept getting elected, even despite all that came out about him, because the people really knew who he was, and they were willing to like put all that to the side, because I think a lot of people knew that was a bunch of BS anyway.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like and people around the nation try to act so surprised, like why would they still put him in there? But when you're actually helping your people, they will stand behind you.
Mm-hmm. But as for some of these other ones, we know that they in it for a check.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that was making me really angry with Roland Martin, because he's like, well, we got this black person running here and this black person running for this here. But I was like, but that doesn't mean they're actually doing anything for black people. I mean, hell, Sheriff David Clark.
Oh, perfect example. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Too bad your royal family ain't listening right now. You know, that's her favorite. That's her favorite person.
Yeah, but like he got elected into office. Like he wasn't nowhere near for black people.
Oh, hell no.
In fact, I think he got in there because he did hate black people. He was like Stephen and every like black slave catcher, every black trader combined into one.
Right. And what he did, you know, as far as like if he wants to call it running his prison, because it was practically like the asylum running itself, and without the warden even being there. Right. He can do whatever they want. But when that guy died because of dehydration, or when the mother died and then later her child died after she gave birth. Right. And all of that happened while he was sheriff, and they continued to let it happen because the people who died were black. Right. And he was too busy trying to get into politics, you know, because white people started putting him out there as their battering ram against other black people. So he was too busy trying to do that. I can't wait to get their wake up call. Yeah. It's well deserved and long overdue. But yeah, Roland Martin, like I said, he literally started a beef with Tariq Nasheed, Jason Black. I heard Corey Holcomb's name come up. I said, I hope Corey Holcomb goes in on him on 5150 this week. If he does, I'm going to laugh so hard, because Corey Holcomb is a raw comedian, raw, uncut. He just doesn't care what comes out of his mouth. He just doesn't care. He has no filter. Right. I don't know if he came for Professor Black Truth or not, because I didn't hear his name drop, but Professor came for him. Right. Well, as I knew he would. Right. Well, I mean, Roland was just, like I said, it was surprising to me just that he had so much anger and vitriol and talked a lot of mess about black people and just so mad at us. But when it comes to white folks, you never heard that type of anger. He didn't have that type of anger when he talked to Richard Spencer. Exactly. And Richard Spencer is an open white supremacist, and he didn't have that anger talking to him. Real calm. He was real calm when he was talking about Richard Spencer, or when Richard Spencer was talking to him. And when he was saying, like, when Richard Spencer saying that he was a white man and everything like that, what did Roland say? Yeah, Roland didn't want to admit he was black. He said, "I'm a Christian. So I'm a man. I'm a man first. I'm a Christian." Yeah, he's a man, and then he's a Christian. Like, and black was nowhere on his list.
just ridiculous. He couldn't even say I'm a black man in front of this white devil.
And Jason Black took it a step further, and I didn't notice that until I had saw it on his page because I follow him on his Facebook page, and he, him and Tariq, they have a fairly decent following, I would say.
Right.
And when they were comparing live stream counts, Jason Black probably averages out over 1,500 per live stream that he does. Tariq is about the same. When they pulled up Roland Martin's live stream numbers, that man barely cracked 100.
And what's sad, like he has so many subscribers, but no one was actually watching.
Exactly. He has way more subscribers. He has over
Right.
100,000 subscribers, and he's the more well-known person. Like
Right.
he was on CNN and on TV One. So he's the more well-known person. Tariq made appearances on those channels, but he never had a show on any of those channels. Jason Black, of course, he's like more behind the scenes. So
that's what's funny. Jason Black has never even shown his face, and he has more of an audience than Roland Martin does.
You can walk around and walk past like you wouldn't even know it's him.
Right, exactly. That's what's funny. It's like you never even showing your face, but you have a bigger audience or a more attentive and more loyal audience than Roland Martin does.
That's crazy because actually when we was talking about that, I went onto my YouTube page, and you know how like sometimes they'll have to recommend it, and his was there, and he was live streaming. That thing said he only had 51 views.
Right.
I took a picture of that and I posted it up in the chat. I said, well, this proves your point right there. He only got 51 views for his current live stream right now, and you can average out maybe 1,600 per. Now, what does that tell you? And you have way less than subscribers than he does. See, it goes back to what the professor was saying. New black media is coming for old black media, and he's scared. He's eclipsing it right now.
Well, he's lost so many jobs trying to be in the mainstream media. He was never one of the top guys, even as far as like black guys in media. But he lost those jobs, the ones that he did have, but he's trying to like build a little space on the internet, which is funny. Like it's almost like too little, too late at this point, because you didn't want to do it before, but now you're trying to like carve out this little space, and it's like it's not going to happen. I think even Dr. Boyce Watkins got on him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't watch the video, but I saw the title of the video where he's kind of going in on Roland Martin. So,
and also too, like Professor Black Truth had mentioned something where he was saying how when you remember when the whole thing went down with Roland Martin a few years ago with that Super Bowl ad with David Beckham, which we all believe or at that time assumed that's what led to him being fired. But he had made an excellent point. He said Joy Reid, remember the issue she was going with a few months ago when she made those comments about the community, but they kind of like put her on the back burner a little bit. I guess that was like a little warning towards her. Now, what she said was a bit more extreme than what he said, but they fired him, but they kept her. And he said it wasn't because of them comments that you made about the gay community. It's because they just didn't like you and they needed to find an outlet to let you go.
Yeah, I agree.
That was their out to get rid of you.
I agree. Because like I said, I think he just made like a comment about like the underwear ad or something like that.
It was the underwear. Yeah, it was the underwear ad.
Yeah, they kicked him to the curb too, which I like. At the time, I thought that even though I wasn't really a fan of his, I was like, well, that's obviously racism in my opinion. The fact that they kicked him to the curb like that, but but he thinks he for some reason I think he thinks that he's down with these folks. He's down with the white Democrats, even though he tries to talk bad about them sometimes, but. Yeah, I think he thinks they're his buddies for some strange reason, but they never actually look out for him.
My thing is this: if he's really down with the Democrats like he claims he is, then why the hell was his ass at that Young Black Leadership so-called Kunocracy convention a couple weeks ago, where all them Kanye clones was wearing the "Make It Great Again" hats, talking with Trump? Why was he there?
I don't know. He's one of those fools that thinks you can, I guess, talk sense into those people or have a logical debate, which I've always had a problem with anyone that thinks that way. You can't really have a logical debate with someone who's illogical.
And what I thought was so interesting was that they said that they did not allow black media to be present at that event, yet he was let in.
Right. That is very interesting. But maybe he threw up one of those his boule or fraternity signs or something like that and got in there. I don't know.
I hope
He's down with all those
I hope he
frats and
know.
stuff. So
I hope he know that he can't hide behind that forever.
those Negroes think that actually means something to white folks. It doesn't. Your little fraternity means nothing to white people.
It really doesn't.
And they don't even use it for the same thing. Like, you know, most people use it to get themselves a job, but black people have elevated those frats to something, making it seem like it's something great or astronomical. Like I'm not crapping on you if you're in a fraternity, but like I said, to me, it seems white people use it to consolidate power amongst themselves. Black people use it to go show hand signs at the homecoming game or whatever. So to show out for their college friends and whatnot. So that just seems like all it does for me. But
yeah, but like some of the people was driving me crazy when they were talking about voting and everything like that. And I'm like, do you even know who or what you're voting for?
Not really. Most people I've talked to, they just say they voted down the ticket for Democrat. And that's like, so basically to me, black people, the way they react to voting is almost the same way they react to church. They just go. They don't really know why they're going. You know what I mean? There's no, their mom went, their grandma went, their great grandma went. So this is what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? There really is no thought behind it. So they just keep going and keep doing it and think that something's going to change just because some politician maybe stopped by the church and said a few words, maybe, or stopped by the community center and said a few words, or maybe the white politicians don't even do that anymore. They send their black surrogates, or they tell Roland Martin to get on the radio, or Tom Joyner, tell them to get out there and vote, and that's all black people need. I was like, oh, he paid us some attention, so he must be for us.
And I have a question more so too. Why do black people need to vote? That's another thing. Notice how they claim that we are so-called 13% of the population, but they need us to vote.
I find that very interesting too.
That lets me know we have to be more than 13%. See, this is the thing. Here's what I think it is. I think what it is they need us as the pump to get them over. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't be out there pushing and pressuring us to go vote. And let's be real here. Some of these people who've been talking about trying to push us to go vote, we never see them any other time, like Carrie Hills of all people. Right. Where have you been?
That's what I said.
And then you're gonna pop your ass on your social media platform and tell us to go vote. And we haven't heard you sing one note in how many years?
It's been at least a good 5 or 6 years since I've heard anything from her.
The last time we heard about her, Beyonce's fans was getting her ass in check for some shit she said.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then that's the last time we heard from her.
Yeah, it seemed like she had disappeared, but like I said, she came out for this. Like, that's what I mean. It seems like almost these black celebrities, their handlers tell them you need to get out there and do this or do that or say this or say that. So that's why I see kind of rings false to me. It doesn't seem like genuine because, like I said in my video, on all these black radio stations, all year long is cooning and buffooning. And then as soon as like 3 months before the election, then all of a sudden you need to get out there and vote. They don't talk about political issues any other time. Any other time is just celebrity gossip, nonsense. Like I said, just coonery and buffoonery all year long for 4 or 5 years. And then all of a sudden when there's an election up and the Democrats tell them to get in line, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we need to get out there and vote. And it's always like they tell you to get out there and vote. But when you start saying stuff like, well, I'm going to vote for an independent, you like, look how quick they get angry at you for doing that, saying you're just wasting your vote then. So I thought all I had to do was just vote. But now you're telling me I'm wasting my vote. I can't do what I want now. You're telling me I have to vote for this Democratic candidate. And that's another thing that bothers me is like when you do vote, then they want to try to tell you who to vote for. You can't even vote independent or vote like a write-in or vote for, you know, maybe a grassroots or a Green Party or someone else. Like they always want you to vote one or the other. And that's a big problem in my opinion.
And also too, what was I ready to say? I also mentioned something about the money. I said, y'all don't think a lot of these politicians, or as I like to call them, politicians, aren't getting paid under the table?
Oh yeah, a lot of them are getting paid. As a matter of fact, a lot of the Democrats and Republicans get paid by the same people. I remember someone did a study like maybe back in 2005 where they showed like these lobbies that pay both sides, both Democrat and Republican, or like sometimes even the same candidate in the same area, they're giving money to both. So it's almost like, well, then how do we know you're going to actually stand up for for your constituents if you're getting paid by the same people?
Exactly.
Because that's one of those things where they just put, and that's what bothers me too, is like these people, they really just want to get themselves elected just so they can keep their job, so they can get elected again in the next election. Like there really is no time where they're actually doing anything concrete for their constituents.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting here looking at some of what people are putting in the chat here. Yes, Roland is a fool. He's more than that.
Oh yeah, he is a lot of that.
And like I said, my thing is I can't take Roland Martin seriously after he literally buck danced for Hillary Clinton, and that
Right.
like when you do stuff like that. And I never liked Roland Martin's TV1 show because he always gave nonsense a voice, and we know about people like Amber Phillips and like
Cancer Phillips.
yes, all of those like black feminists attacking. He gave all these black feminists a platform to attack Nate Parker. He never had that man on there to defend himself. Like he gave somewhat of a defense, but not a really weak one. He attacked Umar Johnson. Like I said, no matter what you want to disagree with Umar Johnson on, the fact they put him on there and they literally attacked him because he says a black man should be with a black woman. They literally just attacked him for that. So like they didn't even get on him about anything you could criticize him for. They criticize him for the thing that he's actually right about.
And every time he had Cancer Phillips on the show,
yeah,
I would turn. Like I would not entertain that.
Yeah,
that chick is void of reality.
No, like you said, that's the good name for her. She's cancerous. She's a disease. She's one of those people that I was so glad when the white woman called the cops on her on the plane. I couldn't tell you how happy I was when I heard that, because she always talks about women first, and black men are the enemy, and then it's a white woman that calls the police on you. That's poetic justice, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But the way she kept going at the actress that was in the movie, like that episode, remember that? That was just horrible.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. And she admitted she didn't even see the movie, but she was making these judgments about it, but she had never actually watched the movie.
And then
said they showed a rape scene in the movie. I was like, no, they didn't.
No, they didn't. And then she came back and also said something about how black men are responsible for rape culture.
Well, she's an all man. She's an all men are responsible for rape in some way or form. That's one of the only other times I've seen Roland actually get somewhat upset.
By that time,
because he was trying to defend.
By that time, it was already too late.
Yeah, he was trying to defend himself. Really, it had nothing to do with anybody else. But he wanted to make sure no one thought that his big self was a rapist. So.
But yeah, like that's just okay. Whatever.
But like I said, he gave a platform to a lot of nonsense, and like it would seem like if you're going to have a debate about something on the show, you would have one person for one side, one person for the other. You don't stack 4 or 5 people on one side to attack like Umar Johnson or to attack Nate Parker. You know what I mean? It seems like he would stack the deck to attack one person or one person. Like I said, they attacked Nate Parker, and he wasn't even there. They never even gave him a chance to defend himself. And then when the actress came on there, I forget the sister's name, but I remember she played Nat Turner's mother in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he had blockheaded Amber Phillips on there to attack her, and she wouldn't even let the woman get a word in edgewise.
Exactly. She's very rude. She's very rude.
Yeah, which I expect from a bull dagger like her. So she's not. She was probably used to not getting a lot of attention anyway all her life. So that's now she has a platform. She feels she needs all the attention and just tries to suck all the air out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But I'm glad that she kind of got a little bit of a wake-up call when that whole incident happened on that plane.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her much since that happened. But
good.
You never know. You never know. She'll show up sometime.
Good. We don't need to hear from her.
No, I agree. I agree.
Because that woman right there is just like, now that's the definition of a toxic woman.
Yes, that's toxic lesbianism or whatever what I call it.
Right.
But yeah, that I mean, like I said, to me, Roland Martin is someone who he's very much an establishment Negro, and I think part of his problem was he thought that he was a good liaison between the powers that be and black folks, and he was probably telling these powers that be that, well, if I put it out on my program that black people need to get out there and vote, I can deliver those votes. And then when it didn't happen, those power brokers probably got on him and told him to get out there and you better do something about these folks. And he found Tariq Nasheed and Jason Black, and they were easy targets for him. And no matter what he says, it's almost like attacking them, he's almost proving their point. You know what I mean? Like he's not actually doing them any damage. So, and just attacking. And I've seen, sad to say, I have love and respect for this brother, New Possibilities, but I didn't watch the whole video, but he was supporting what Roland Martin was saying. And he and I, we don't always agree on things, but I do have respect for him. But I just can't co-sign Roland Martin and his nonsense, especially when on this subject of voting. Okay, I understand that people want to, vote for or work toward certain things that go on in an election. Like if there's certain topics that come up that you might want to vote for or get in there on. But like I said, I'm not going to browbeat anyone who doesn't vote anymore, because
Exactly.
the political parties that we have and the candidates that we have are absolutely terrible. It's like, why would I browbeat them for that? If there's an inferior product, you don't beat up on the consumer for not wanting to buy it. Usually you're supposed to fix the product and make it better so people want to buy it or just can't wait to buy it. You don't beat up on the consumer for not wanting to buy crap. Like I said before, like I said in my video, you put dog shit on the plate, I'm not going to eat that anymore. I want to eat real food. You just can't put something on the plate and say, well, this is what you got to eat because this is what we got for you. I'm not doing that anymore. Okay. I'm not going to beat up on anyone who doesn't want to do that.
And also, too, this is something that a lot of people didn't touch on. Now, we have a lot of black people that got upset at those who didn't vote. But also, quiet as it's kept, you had some black folks that got mad at people that didn't vote the way that they did.
Right.
So if you had a black person that say, oh, I'm not going to vote Democrat, I'm going to vote Republican, or I'm not going to vote either and I'm going to vote independent, or I'm going to write someone in, they got mad at people for doing that. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, people.
So now you're really showing your ass when you do that. So now you're mad at people who don't vote, and now you're mad at people that don't vote the way that you do.
Right. Now I remember back in, I think it was 2004 election, when I wanted to vote for Ralph Nader. I didn't want to vote for John Kerry or George W. Bush. I wanted to vote for the independent. And people were just telling me, "Oh, you're just wasting your vote. You're just wasting your vote." I was like, but you just said I can vote for whoever I want to vote for, right? Isn't this supposed to be the free America? Can't I vote who I want to vote in? But now you're telling me I'm supposed to vote what you want.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's how it works with folks, and they think they have no other option other than Democrat or Republican, and so they just go along to get along and do it. And like I said, they just vote. Sometimes they don't even know who the candidate is. They just vote for them because they have a D or R behind their name.
Exactly. And all I can say is at the end of the discussion, that little back and forth or whatever that I had on Facebook, all I said was this: we will reconvene in a few months, and hopefully you got what you voted for. But don't hold your breath.
Well, that's what I want to see. I want to make sure I keep note of all the people who said you need to do this. Someone challenged me on that video, but I haven't heard them say anything. I asked them, like, which politician did you vote for has done what you wanted them to do? And he never had an answer for me. I didn't ban him or block him or anything like that.
Because I
still have yet to get an answer from him, though.
Because I'm like this: if I voted for somebody and they don't do what I'm supposed to do, then that means I have to take responsibility for helping to put them in that position. Right. When I did that video a couple years ago when Trump had got elected back in 2016, I said, oh, these people that put him in, they're going to regret voting him in. They may not see it now, or they may not see it tomorrow or next week, but they're going to feel the effects of it. And what happened a few months later down the line into 2017, that's when they started to feel the effects of it, and now they're feeling it even more now. A lot of them just know how to mask it well to pretend like nothing is a problem now.
Oh, he's gotten a lot of them, especially a lot of the ones that come from immigrant families, whether they be Mexican, whether they be Israelis or Middle Easterners who come here. I think he even got some Asians too. So it's almost like I said, they're getting their karma and their wake up call, and that's why I've made videos about that, almost like making fun of them, because that's what they deserve if they support Donald Trump. They didn't. They did. I guess they only thought he wanted a certain group of Mexicans, or he only wanted a certain, or just wanted to get rid of or hurt black people or something like that. They didn't realize he was coming for them too. And I predicted Donald Trump was going to win the summer before his election. I told him he was going to win just from what I saw with the enthusiasm that the Republicans had in voting for him and all the racists that were supporting him. And I saw with the Democratic Party, they really had no platforms. It was just vote for Hillary because you don't want Trump to win. And I was like, that's not a strategy. And that's not an actual platform to run on. Just vote for me because you don't want this other person to win. Okay. Exactly. When the Republicans, why I said, whether you like them or not, they do put some policies out there. Now the policies are racist and bigoted and disgusting, but they say we're running on the white supremacy ticket all the way. And that's what we're going for. And if you want to roll with that, roll with that. And people jump on to that because, that's just America. That's just the way America is. So, but like I said, Democrats don't actually put out any real platforms. It's just vote for us because you don't want Trump to win. And I was like, that's not really a strategy to go on. And that's why Hillary lost. And that's why they continue. I think they're probably going to lose again during this next presidential election.
And we, like you say, we already knew Trump was going to win because he was speaking their language.
Right.
See, they had to stay and kind of lay low for a little bit, but it wasn't until like around the time when unarmed black people started getting killed where they started to like come to the surface a little bit. But then once Trump got into the position that he was when he was running, then that's when they really started to show their ass. And now that he's the president, now they're going full throttle. But I said, don't get it. As a matter of fact, I got a video that's coming soon that's talking about this. I said, don't get it twisted. You step to the wrong black person, you will get your ass handed to you.
Right. No,
because not all of us are the forgiving type.
Oh yeah, exactly. Someone posted that someone made a great meme on Facebook today where it says that I think it said my black life might not matter to you, but just realize that if you come for me, you might lose your life. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's one of the most perfect meme I've seen. But yeah, you can't. They're assuming that we're all weak and we're all like John Lewis and we're going to pray for someone's forgiveness after they try to crack our heads open. But I'm letting you know, if someone comes for me or anyone in my family, I'm not going to hesitate to push back. And you can take that any way you want it. Okay, I don't like to put out specifics. I want people to be surprised by what they find when they come at me. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit there and take stuff like the civil rights generation. Like they said, people were saying we need to vote because our ancestors fought for our right to vote. But I was like, that's not the ancestors I look towards. My ancestors are the ones that would shoot you if you tried to stop them from doing something. My ancestors would probably cut your head off if you tried to, assault them. Those are the ancestors I like. Harriet Tubman, the heroes of the Haitian Revolution. Those are my ancestors that I look up to, not the ones that took an ass whooping for no reason and tried to turn the other cheek. My ancestors would fight back. Okay, so those are the ones that I look towards.
Exactly. And then whenever you try to talk about something like this, then they'll try to divert it into a way to make you not talk about it. I said you got to try that on someone who doesn't have a mind of their own.
Right.
Because you can't pull that over on me.
No, but that's another problem with, in my opinion, with politics, especially the Democratic Party. They talk to black people like we're stupid, and a lot of these black pundits do the same thing. That's a big problem I have with Roland Martin as well. He talks down to black people. He talks to us like we're stupid and we don't know any better. Like if there are black people not participating in the election, he makes it seem like we're just dumb and ignorant and don't know any better or have no mind for politics. It's not that at all. most people who do not vote anymore have been doing it for years and are just frustrated and say, the hell with it. Why am I continuing to do something that's not working for me?
Mm-hmm.
That's common sense. That's not being ignorant. That's common sense of what a person should be doing.
Exactly, because it's like you said, it's gotten to a point where they are fed up and they're tired of empty promises and not getting what they feel they deserve. That's just like when I posted on Twitter. I said, "Has Doug Jones done anything for the majority of the black women that voted for him?"
Not a thing.
Now I haven't heard anything.
Not a thing. Like I said,
and they said they voted in droves, and that's another thing too. Whenever they pull out those voter polls, those exit polls, and numbers like that, they do that. And I said that it's almost like they do that as a further divide thing. Like, say, see, look, black women voted more than black men. I was like, okay, that's fine. They voted more than black men, but I hope they get something out of the deal, because if they don't, that means that they're going to hold them accountable.
Well, that was the other bitch made move that Roland Martin did, where he made that video post saying, "Is do the Democrats have do black men have a voting problem or something like that?"
Yes,
but it was a direct attack on black males specifically, and that really set me off too when I saw that. I was like, okay, this Negro right here.
I said, has he ever considered that maybe it's something that black males know that someone else does not, when it comes to this voting thing?
Right.
And see, the thing is, that's why he came for people like Jason Black and Tariq, because he knows that he's losing influence. He doesn't have the influence like he used to, and that people are being aware and they're looking to other forms of media to get their news, and the way that they're getting it and the way that it's being delivered is much more powerful and potent than he ever could, because they know Roland Martin is bought and paid for. Tariq and Jason Black and Professor Black Truth, and hell, even myself and you and True Royal Family, Lisa Cabrera, Nicole's View, Harvey, I can go on and on and on, are not bought and paid for by these establishments. That's why we can freely say the stuff that we want with very little to repercussion.
Right, and people want, I notice our people want a man that speaks like a man. I'm not, they always tell me, like, when on my videos, the most comments I get is that I'm glad that you're not equivocating or trying to be inclusive for everybody. It's like, yeah, there's a time where, you know, black people need to stop trying to include everybody. That's the problem I have with these black Democratic politicians. Is like, you want them to do something for black folks, and they start waffling and say what they can do, and it's like, but then when the gays come or the Mexicans come or immigrants come, then their arms are open and they can do everything they can for you. But when it's a black person that says, okay, we need to stop these cops, or we need to prosecute these cops for killing black children, then it's like they tell you what they can't do. But like I said, when gays need to go use, or trans need to go use certain bathrooms, or gay people need to get married, then all of a sudden they can do everything for you in the world. They'll move heaven and earth to help you. The immigrants need to come over here when they're not supposed to be here and get jobs and whatnot. They'll move heaven and earth to do whatever they can for those immigrants. But when it's black folks that need something, they can't do anything for you. So you can't do something for me, I can't give you my vote.
Basically, they hop onto whatever they can see is trending at the time. And I saw somebody, August Dream said, I was completely turned off by the vote shaming Roland Martin, John Lewis, and Oprah did to us. I am too. Like, a lot of us are, and I think that was I think that was another thing that made a lot of people not vote, because it wasn't genuine. And you kept telling black people that they need to go vote, but if black people followed up with, who am I voting for? Why am I voting for them? Then you're like, well, you just need to vote for them. They wanted to say because they were black. Let's be real here. And I saw some people on there on Facebook doing the same exact thing, saying how black people should be ashamed of themselves, but they didn't go vote for this black person, so and so. I'm like, wait a minute. You want us to vote for a person or people that we probably don't even know? And there's another thing. Some people were mad at people who were not voting for certain black people, and they weren't even in the same goddamn state that they represented. Like, how the hell are you all the way in fucking California talking about you mad at black people in Florida for not voting for Andrew Gillum? Who is the representative for your state?
Right.
Worry about your state. This wasn't a national election. You worry about your state, your county, your district, your whatever, and let Florida and Georgia and wherever else deal with what they got to do with. Because what you got going on in California, you can't affect that all the way in Florida. You're not only in the same state, you're in a different time zone.
I
Like, calm
mean,
down.
did Andrew Gillum run on "We're going to get George Zimmerman" in Florida?
Oh, ooh.
Yeah. So like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and people will say, "Well, that's unreasonable, Chris. You can't tell him to do stuff like that." But didn't that guy in Pennsylvania run on "I'm going to get Bill Cosby"?
He sure did.
He ran on the fact that, "Oh, I'm going to get Bill Cosby and put him in jail," even though uh, the deal that they signed was they weren't going to try Bill Cosby based on that testimony, but he did it anyway and got the judge in there and everything, and then got him. So that's what I mean. It's like, well, these folks who are our enemies, they don't care what if they want to run and get. They'll run on. We're going to be tough on crime, which just means we're going to be tough on black folks. We're going to put black folks in jail. They can do that, but when we ask these black candidates, are you going to run to help us and get the criminals that oppress and attack us? Then we can't get anything from them.
And I saw Crew Reality had left a comment. I'm glad he left that one. He said, "What of all the black women judges that were elected?" Now I know you probably saw that. It was I think it was like 18 black
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yes.
judges. I think that was in Texas.
Yes.
And shout out to Kendra. I don't know if she's still in the chat. She did a video yesterday on her channel called The War of Attrition, and she mentioned that about the black judges, the all black female judges that were elected down in Texas. And she said, if black people were more on a unified front, that will be seen as a true historical moment because we know what they could do and what kind of power they could have when it comes to especially the wrong criminalization of black men, for the most smallest of crimes that aren't even heinous. Now, another reason I mentioned that we have to look at that with a side eye is because look at what just happened with Botham Jean and Amber Geiger, and who was over that, Faith
Right.
Johnson, who was a DA and a black woman, and how she handled that with kid gloves.
Right, exactly.
And you also got the judge in the Meek Mill case, who was a black woman who was literally railroading him. So you have to be very careful. That's why I say if they can get in these positions and they can be bought and paid for, they will do their bidding for them. So while it will be seen as a historical symbolic event, we need to see what they're going to do, because let me tell you something right now. If they're not going to pull a Judge Olu Stevens, then they're not worth shit. And now Judge Olu
Stevens, yes, I do remember him, yes.
For those of y'all who don't know who Judge Olu Stevens is, he was a black judge. I forgot what state it was in. And he saw the unfair treatment of black defendants and how the whole jury of your peers thing was working. It was one case where it was a black defendant, it was a black male defendant, and he said, "Oh, I can't let this jury sit in on this case because they will definitely send him to jail." And it was in one of them redneck states. And he literally dismissed that entire jury and brought in a very diverse one, and most of them were black.
Right, and those white folks worked to get him out of there too.
Long story short, the jury found him not guilty, where that other jury probably would have found him guilty.
Right.
They didn't like that, and
they didn't like that at all.
He did something else. What ended up happening is they suspended him for 90 days without pay.
Yep, I remember that.
Like, he literally was like the judge version of Johnny Cochran.
But that's what
Johnny
I mean.
Cochran was a lawyer, he was a judge.
That's what I mean, though. It's like, and you never saw the Democratic Party didn't come to his defense, nor any of these so-called black liberals or whatever came to try to help this man. And he was actually doing the right thing, because, like I noticed that too. Is like in these trials that go on, they say you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers, but then it's a whole bunch of old white folks that get in there and they're voting you guilty before, like in 2 minutes, they go back to deliberate for 2 minutes and come back and say you're guilty, and they get all these. I mean, it's very hard to actually prove a case against a person, but or they'll try to make you take a deal or whatever, so you can just go. They can get it over with. But like I said, the justice system works very harshly on black folks, and I was glad when that judge came out and did that. But like I said, no one worked for his defense, really. No one tried to keep him in that spot, and that's what we need, is people like that.
Mm-hmm. Because if they was willing to remove him for 90 days without, they didn't pay him. Like, so that means he had to preserve his funds for the next 3 months
Right.
until he was able to come back to the bench and pick up where he left off.
Right.
But that was their way of saying that was a warning to him. Like, don't you ever try
Well, to him, and whoever else might have that idea.
Anyone else, yeah, who will have that idea.
Right. But so, like I said,
and to be honest, I haven't seen another judge do that since.
No, I haven't either. No black ones anyway. I mean, well, they do it for white kids. Like, if those ones that get the white kids off for raping white females, they say this kid doesn't deserve to go to prison.
Because they got to think their future.
Yes, exactly. We don't want to ruin their future, so we got to make sure they don't go to prison. They did that for a young girl. I did a story about that last year. A young girl in Great Britain who went to Oxford who stabbed her boyfriend, and they said they didn't want to ruin her future because she was studying to be a doctor. It's like, so I guess it's okay to stab people then.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the system they want for themselves, and they want something completely different for us. Like I said, black people could not commit any crime whatsoever and still wind up going to prison. Mm-hmm. They'll put something on you, and then like they'll prove that you didn't do it with your DNA 20 years later, but your life is over at that point.
Exactly. And but you know what? To cushion the blow, we'll give you some money.
And they're trying to cut that off now. They're trying to stop giving you the money. Like that poor guy they gave like $4 to or whatever, which was completely disrespectful.
Like, you in jail this year for a crime I didn't commit, and you release me after I lost all this time, and all I get is $4 fucking.
Right. And
like he said, this has no value now.
Right. And black people need to stop being so forgiving in those cases as well, because I've seen too many of those cases where they're forgiving the people that sent them to prison. I'm like, okay, come on now, enough of that. That there's that one case where the guy, he was working with the corrupt cop that sent him to prison, and then they became friends later on. I was like, no, I might choke that guy to death.
Yeah.
If he sent me to prison for, like, he literally admitted that, because the cop went to jail later on for corruption, and he admitted that, yeah, I set this guy up by planting drugs in his car and sent him to prison. And then like they were on like a work release program together. I was like, no, I'm not being this guy's friend. Stop being so forgiving with these folks. There's a lot that we do need to work for if we're serious about politics. I always say this because a lot of black people are not serious about politics. But if we're serious, you build up a candidate from the grassroots very early on. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with the vote. The vote is the last step in the so-called electoral process. You start building a candidate 2 and 3 years ahead of time. Sometimes some people do it 4 and 5 and even 10 years ahead of time. I mean, to be honest, Barack Obama was built years before he got into the presidential race. They started way back in 2004. We'll let him do that speech at the Democratic National Convention and building him as a candidate for presidency. And they got an unknown because they figured, well, he's not an establishment Democrat because no one really knows who he is. So he doesn't have that much tarnish on him at this point. So they built him up to put him in there. And, George Bush, he won because George Bush was such a terrible president that people wanted something completely different. And I think that happened with Trump, too. I think, so many racists hated Obama just for being there. Doesn't matter what he actually did, but they hated him just for the fact that a black man was there, that they went with the racist candidate, Donald Trump. So.
They felt like this was revenge.
Yes,
felt like they felt like they lost him. I said, if y'all only knew how much Obama did for y'all,
right?
And he did a lot for you, a lot. Like we wish we could have gotten a good chunk of the stuff,
right,
for us that he did for y'all.
He bent over backwards
because it had a black face attached to it. They didn't see it.
Yeah, no, Barack Obama bent over backwards for them. So, and tried to accommodate them in any way that he could, and still, they talked about him. And that's why I said I don't go for that. All black people gotta do is get a good job and do right, and white people will love you. I was like, no, you can be the president of the United States and he got his law degree from Harvard and everything else, and they still disrespect him. So that means nothing to them.
Did you hear about that judge? It was a white judge. he didn't get reelected. So what he did was, for the current cases he was working on, he ended up releasing all of the defendants.
No, I didn't hear about that.
I said that was so petty, but you know what? They probably were held on some bogus charges anyway.
Probably so. A
He
lot
said,
of times
you're not going to reelect me? Okay, fine. I got something for you. On my way out, I'm going to release all these defendants.
yeah, well, a
He
lot of
did.
times
He
they have
did.
people there on trumped up charges anyway. Because, like I said, it's very hard to actually prove a case against someone. So they try to scare you into taking a lot of deals. I mean, that's just the legal system that we exist in. It's actually pretty sad and scary. If you have the money, you can always get out of it. But a lot of times they try to, like I said, they try to make you take a plea deal or something like that because they really don't want to have to go through the process of actually giving you a fair trial. And that's how a lot of young black males get caught up in the system. They say, well, if you just take these 5 years, you'd rather take that than if you don't, we're going to try to give you the maximum sentence of like 20 or 25 years. So, so even if you didn't do anything, like the Central Park Five didn't actually commit a crime, but they said just say you did it and you'll be able to go home. You know,
Yeah.
and that's how a lot of young black males, especially children, get caught in the system.
Yeah. And people want to always ask, how is Trump racist? I said the Central Park Five. Need I say more? I mean, there's more to it. I said it's more, but that one literally comes to mind.
Yeah, and still has not apologized for that. He refuses to even take his words back for that. So that, like, to me, that's, I mean, like I said, there's way more things that you could put on Trump for to show his racism, but I mean, like, that's the most obvious one and the most blatant one, and I don't see why anyone wants to even argue that point. Even if you don't want to even say he's racist, just say what he is. He's a scumbag. He's not. He's one of the most deplorable people I've ever seen in my life. And I grew up in the tri-state area, so I know all about Donald Trump. He's always been that way. But a lot of Americans are just like him. They're arrogant. They're extremely ignorant. They don't know what the hell's going on, but they're arrogant about their ignorance. So they just go out there and just run their mouth. So Donald Trump is a hero to them. And like I said, that's how I knew he was going to win, because I know America. A lot of morons out there who think they're better than they actually are, but who have some entitled position. Because I mean, Donald Trump's never really worked a day in his life.
Never.
He never had to work for his fortune. That money was passed on to him. So he's lived in that life of luxury. And even though some of the poorest white people have lived in the luxury of white privilege, so of course they're going to support someone like Trump. He's right up their alley.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And see, the tagline that he went with "Make America Great Again" definitely resonated with them. I said, isn't it ironic how that "Make America Great Again" tagline resonated with so many white people more so than anyone else?
Right.
They have the nerve to sit there and try to act dumb and naive when people ask them what does that mean, and they try to claim they don't know. You know what that means. We know what it means. I'll never forget, I was watching a news report from my local news back when he was campaigning, and somebody had asked a person, they said, so you are a Trump supporter and things like that? She was like, absolutely. She was asking, like, he answered a couple of questions, and she answered it with no problems. But the minute he asked her, okay, make America great again, what does that mean? She said, I'm not sure.
Well, I always catch them in their BS when they talk about black people, you know, how black people are doing so bad and white people are doing so great. And I always say, well, I thought you were trying to make America great again. If everything is so good for you already, why do you need to make it great? And they never have an answer for me for that. But you know, like I said, they criticize us when they want to, and they try to use us as a scapegoat or just to make themselves look better. But then when I start bringing up all their flaws in the white community, then all of a sudden they want to change their tune.
They are a funny bunch, really.
a funny bunch, but they can be very dangerous as well.
Yeah,
I laugh at them too, but sometimes, you know, we gotta be careful not to think that they are not a threat. They are a threat. As the old adage goes, maybe one person is one stupid person is not that scary, but you know, once they get into groups, they can be extremely dangerous. So, you know, you just got that, and that's why they put Trump in office. But you see how bold and emboldened they've gotten over the last 3 or 4 years, and some of the things they've been doing. They're killing their own people at this point. They talk about black on black crime, but I've seen more white guys wilding out, shooting up clubs and whatnot than any black person.
Oh, we can go on and on about that.
Yeah, like
oh,
Jason,
that takes me back to when I used to do my Thugs Everywhere videos.
Right. No, like Jason Black was bringing that up in his latest video where he talked about, anytime there's a shooting at a black club, they talk about how bad rap music is and how deplorable the black community is. But like these two country music places, like the country music club and then the country music concert, were both shot up by white guys, and I don't see anyone saying country music is bad or violent or whatever. So that's one of those things. They always criticize us as a whole when one of our people goes crazy, but when theirs does it, it's always an individual thing. And he was a lone wolf or he was crazy. There's nothing you can talk about as far as like white culture. It's always just that one white guy was bad. I mean, when you have one back to back every weekend, that sounds like culture to me. I mean, we just had like two mass shootings in like 1 week. They were like 2 guys at a time. So it's like, at what point do you say it's white culture and not just, one individual white guy?
Mm-hmm. Because like I said, whenever they do bad, they'll only consider them as the individual who did it. But let us have one person that fuck up, then it's all of our fault.
Yeah, then they're asking, like anytime, like back when Micah Johnson shot those police, I saw black people online apologizing for that. I was like, what are you apologizing for? It's like, I didn't do it, and I'm not even sure if he did it. That's what the news says, or that's what the media says. So like, why black people always feel they have to apologize if one black person does something wrong? I was like, I'm not apologizing for anything. I understand why he did what he did, if that's the real case. But well, I said, when a white person does something, they says it's always an individual thing. It's never blamed on white culture. It's always just that he was an individual. He was a lone wolf. He had mental issues. He didn't take his medication. That's what they said about the devil that shot those black people at Kroger, and said he forgot to take his medication or wasn't taking his meds or something like that. Because I guess not taking your meds makes you a racist piece of garbage.
Mm-hmm. And then you already know they're gonna come at him with the mental illness thing.
Right. Yeah, they do that a lot.
Because black people, we know what we're doing. We apparently do not have a problem, but with them, they do. As a matter of fact, there was an article that came out a year ago that said mass shootings should have no connection or should have no connection to a mental illness for the most part.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Is like if everything is so great in white society, like you would think there would be more black mass shooters because the way our both societies are treated, the way black people are treated, you would think we would be a black mass shooter every week, but there's not. But white people are apparently living in a lab of luxury, according to them, but they're going on shooting sprees every other week. So
exactly.
And people get mad at me for saying that. They got mad at Don Lemon the one time he was actually right.
The one time he was actually right.
Yeah, people had.
I said, and the thing is, that I said he didn't even. It's not like that was an opinion that he gave. The FBI actually came out and said that themselves, which is probably where he got it from.
Right. Yeah. That's another thing. They want to believe the FBI stats when it comes to black crime, but when it talks about them being terrorists, then all of a sudden they don't want to believe the FBI stats anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, those FBI stats they quote about black crime are from like 2008, 2009. They're not even recent. So it's been proven that their crime rates are higher. But that's, like I said, that's just, they don't want to pay attention to those stats. They want to quote the old ones. So yes, yeah, that Kroger shooter was married to a coonette or a black female.
Mm-hmm.
He called her the N-word and everything else. So, but I'm not supposed to talk about that stuff. Like I've had some black females get mad at me for even bringing that up. I'm not saying that there are no black men married to or who have had racist girlfriends, but I
Oh,
mean,
speaking of that, someone might have to talk about it. Probably not on here, but someone has sent me a topic about a certain former singer from a certain popular female R&B group who married a certain white guy who it seems like there's trouble in paradise when that person had brought something up about race and they brought up something and threw about back on them about their mental issues.
oh, Michelle
Yes.
from Destiny's Child, yeah, yeah. I think I just saw the headline. I didn't read the article yet.
Yeah, someone had sent it to me like right before we started this stream. I was
Yeah.
like, here we go.
Well, I meant to do a blog about her and what's the guy from Power, Amari, whatever his name is, just about how they're crying foul or whatever about people criticizing their relationships. But it's like really, like there's much worse things going on in the world. You could just ignore the idiots that maybe send you a message or put a quote about you or write an article about you. I would ignore that and concentrate on something else. I mean, people have been talking bad about Michelle singing forever, from what I
Yeah.
remember anyway. Like it's like you would think you'd be more upset about that than them criticizing this balding white guy that you're with right now. But you know, whatever. Like I said, that black folks, they always want to defend their white daddy or white mommy. They'll defend that to the end. But when it comes to other black people, they don't want to. They have no force behind their words.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this just thing, I got to get going in a little bit, but I'll just say in conclusion, you know, I personally am not going to browbeat anyone for not voting. If they're serious about wanting black people to vote, they need to actually have some better candidates and also an actual black agenda, all black, not people of color, not
Mm-hmm.
everybody included into one. It actually needs to be an actual black agenda specifically that pertains to black people. Okay, if they want our votes, but if they're not going to do that, then you can't get upset when black people don't want to show up to the polls. Okay,
Exactly.
the time for people being politically ignorant is over. All right, and it's common sense for people to even be apathetic about the process when they keep giving their votes and then nothing gets done for them. Like I said, if you have an inferior product and people don't buy, you don't get mad at the consumer. You get mad at the product itself for being terrible. You change the product. If they're not going to do that, then you can't keep getting mad at the people for not wanting to participate.
I agree.
And I hope people can finally understand that or understand our stance on that. And, you know, and maybe, you know, people who mean well, we can maybe have a meeting of the minds. But if you're just going to downgrade us or degrade us and say we're ignorant or stupid or you're ashamed or we need to be ashamed or we're disrespecting our ancestors, you're not going to get a positive response from us doing that. Okay, we're tired of hearing that. And like I said, just browbeating is almost like the, you know, as far as being a black man, when you hear someone say black man ain't shit, is almost like you can't just roll your eyes and just keep on moving because you've heard it so many times. It's not affecting you anymore. You know, so you know, you just browbeating someone for not voting. Most people are just gonna start rolling their eyes and keep on moving because it's not affecting us either way at that point.
Hmm. But yeah, I'm glad we was able to have this discussion though, because it was very informative and we both got out what we really wanted to say. And like I said, you're the perfect person to have this discussion with.
Right. No, I appreciate it. I'm glad I had the time to do it. Usually I don't have, like you said, you don't have the time on Mondays during the day. Usually I don't either. Usually I'm asleep because I work at night. But
Yeah.
today I was off, so I was like, you know, I was able to sleep last night and be wide awake during the day to do this blog. And I appreciate it because I know people have been asking me I should do a blog with you or do a hangout with you. And I was like, that's, you know, I think that would be a good idea. I don't often get to do these, but, you know, I always appreciated your videos and appreciated your content. So, you know, it was a good thing for me. And, you know, like I said, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you and your platform. And I appreciate you pointing people towards me as well.
Oh, no problem. And make sure if y'all haven't done so already that y'all go and subscribe to his channel. Like I'm telling you, the video that I had posted up, that's just one of many in which he talks about. Like y'all are gonna be fans of his content.
Yes, and I appreciate. I think we have a lot of the same fans and the same fan base. So, or people that have similar views that would appreciate both of our content. So I thank you guys as well. Anyone who's come to my page and subscribed, and thanks to the haters as well. Obviously, you guys are a big part of my success because you
Mm-hmm.
keep showing up and watching. So
Trust me, we definitely that's something we both have in common.
yes, I can't knock you for coming and showing up. You know, you guys are like my street team. You go out there and advertise and keep me going. So
But yeah, I definitely appreciate you coming on. We definitely gonna have to do this again. Probably be another topic that we'll discuss that we're gonna be seeing eye to eye on. Who knows what it's gonna be about.
right.
But thanks to everybody who tuned in. I know it's earlier than usual, but I'm glad that I actually got quite a few people to view this. And of course, the playback will be available the minute I click off of this stream. But with that being said, I hope the rest of you and you too, Chris, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Of course, there's going to be more videos to come as usual. As you
Yeah.
know, I had to take a break yesterday because I was tired from the day before.
Understandable.
And, you know, we all, but you know, when we do these videos and stuff like this, you need a mental break every now and then, especially when you are so used to piping them out constantly.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that we are. I guess that we're like Roland Martin. That's like this is all we do. But most of us, like you and me, we both have regular jobs. I have a family, so it's not like we're just doing this 24/7. I'd like to sometimes, but there are other responsibilities that we do have, just like you guys do. We're not celebrity, so
Exactly. What wish we had that kind of income, but
right.
if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right, but I mean, we're passionate about what we do. That's like I said, that's how we do it. Because like I said, when I made that video, it was just something that was weighing on my mind. I had to get it off my chest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it happens when it's something you're passionate about. You can tell.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go. You probably have some things you need to do. I have some things I need to do,
Yeah.
and we will talk soon.
Okay. Well, thank you guys, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you too, Taurean. Appreciate you giving me this platform.
Okay. You have a good one.
You too.